Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Thad. Thank you so much for joining us on today's panel. I'm excited for everyone to learn about the AI journey you've had and the impressive results you've gotten out of your very distinct businesses. We were telling the audience a little bit earlier about what you do, but if you want to tell us in your few words, how would you describe the business that you run?
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. I am a mental health care professional. I work for Akati Mental Health. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and we provide psychiatric evaluations and medication management for clients and patients that are seeking mental health services.
Do you want to tell us about what you do, Thad?
Sure. I'm the vice president of Quebec Constructors. We do predominantly general contracting, industrial, commercial construction. I also have another company that I'm involved with, Tackle, that does project management. Quebec Constructors does project management, professional services, as well as go out and actually build buildings and move things. So we're more of a construction company. And then also we provide professional services related to cost estimating, scheduling, project controls, and that sort of thing.
Wow. Two very different industries for sure, but all connected through the desire to serve others, be a small business that changes their communities. So let's start at the beginning. When you first started hearing about AI, what drove you to first work with it? Was it something that you heard from others? Were you trying to solve a direct problem? Curiosity? How did it start for you?
I would say for me, as a mental health provider and a small business owner, I wear many, many hats. Patient care, I'm responsible for marketing, operations, content creation, policy development, community outreach, and strategic planning. My local SB advisor recommended using AI to help me manage my business. And so just being curious and wanting to know how everything worked and put it all together and to be able to be more efficient and effective and get things done quickly. That's what made me decide to go ahead and see what AI was all about.
Pretty cool. A combination of good guidance and curiosity, right? As most good
Absolutely.
discoveries are. That's awesome. Was it similar for you, Thad, or were you already knowledgeable perhaps because of your business with AI?
Oh, it was similar to Carolyn. I had heard AI and dabbled in it a little bit and kind of started out using ChatGPT. And then my first big introduction to it was through the Alaska Small Business Development Center. And
Uh-huh.
they hosted a 2 day, I think it was 2 day AI conference in February 2 or 3 years ago. And they brought in guest speakers and everybody talked about how they were using AI. And that really inspired me. There was a real opportunity to solve business problems and become more efficient as a business. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And then I just had a real thirst for understanding it. I was trying to get the same results or get to where the guest speakers were talking about, but it took taken a lot of learning.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing about AI, right? The learning never stops, it's limitless. But I like the fact that both of you, even though in very different industries, were aiming the same thing, right? We're looking for efficiency, for business solutions, and you both had the support from your SBCs to get through that. When would you say was that moment that it clicked for you when you thought, okay, this is actually going to be useful for my business?
Yeah, during that conference, it started to click that the industry really didn't matter whether you were in healthcare or in marketing or in construction or whatever. What they're really solving were pieces of process of these repetitive type things and can solve things that were eating up my time in trying to respond to RFPs, documents, and that sort of thing. And you could feed a ton of information into the AI and it would ingest that and give you specific answers. So that was my first aha moment.
How about for you, Carolyn? What was your aha moment?
I would say my aha moment was when I was working with Ruchi, who is my advisor at the SBD. She just showed me how it helped me more strategically rather than just as a technology trend. I learned how to evaluate the AI tool just kind of based on practical business needs and
Mhm.
how to integrate into my daily responsibilities and workflows and quality and compliance. Because as a healthcare provider, I have to be very careful that I'm not inputting any protected patient information into public AI platforms. And so my aha moment was how I can do all of these things and incorporate them in my business and at the same time stay compliant.
I think that's usually one of those things that when people discuss AI, they don't usually go very deep into. The truth is that we also have restrictions within our industries. We're not putting in small business client information in the tools. We're not sharing financial data. We have to do it in a way that protects the confidentiality. That's very relevant for any small business owner. So you both are adopting at this point the AI. You've heard it, it clicked for you in different mechanisms, whether attending a conference or whether it was through your advisors. What's that one thing on your daily tasks that AI has become essential to your business?
So AI's ability to code things. I work a lot in Excel, but I never really understood VBA macros. And right off the get-go, I was able to build VBA macros for algorithms and calculations. For instance, putting in all the cut lengths of material,
Mhm.
and then it would run a calculation and give me the least amount of drops and optimize my material nesting so that I could reduce waste material from 15% down to 5 to 10%. And so this made an immediate impact. I could buy less material. A lot of our jobs are remote. We have to ship by air. So that translated in air freight. So that's a weight savings and a material cost savings. And then we ventured off into Python. AI does it very well. I just tell it what I want and it builds it and it gives me a system that'll work.
How long did it actually take you to embrace all of this and say, okay, I'm going to have it running with this prompt and get it to the place where you needed it to work?
It was pretty quick. I'd say within 2 to 3 weeks, I was spitting out stuff that I had always had on my bucket list. For instance, I could very quickly model my incoming and outgoing cash flow when I went to the bank to find out how much money we were going to need. We do construction, so we have a lot of materials and labor going out, and then payments are generally 30 to 60 days later. So we use
Mhm.
a line of credit to span that. And a lot of times we would kind of take a guess or you'd have to manually calculate it out. And it was a process. I could cut what used to take probably 4 or 5 hours down into 10 minutes and hit the macro, and it was running it beautifully. So I was able to get some of these little tools up and going in just a matter of 2 to 3 weeks after kind of starting to play with it. And that was still just using the chat interface where I'd be like, hey, make me a macro, VBA macro that I can cut and paste. And then if you didn't know how or where to put it in, you ask it, how do I put this in? How do I run this? How do
Mhm.
I change the button? And it would just tell you.
That's one of the cool things about AI, that no matter what level of knowledge you have, you can communicate in your own words.
I mean, for me, there were quite a few. The note taking tools for has significantly cut my documentation time down after having a visit. It allows me more time to be able to spend directly with the client, not writing while I'm talking to the patient. Once the visit is over, it kind of has everything broken down for in sections for me to review and edit if I need to. And so it just cut my day, and I'm not taking work home evenings anymore. And yes, every patient prior to the visit, I inform them that I use an AI tool that records our visit and I get their okay or their verbal authorization, as well as we have a signed document for each client. And at any time, they have the right to rescind their authorization. So that's what I get back from the patients, that they feel like they're really being heard and that I'm taking the time with them as opposed to documenting or writing during the visit.
Yeah, that impacts on the quality of services they receive for sure. That you were talking about, that competitive advantage that you have because you're using AI. How does that translate into the services that you provide? How do you feel that AI has helped you with that?
One, we can do more than what we did before. Kind of like what Carolyn was saying, we can cut kind of mundane processing of stuff out and really focus and get people on doing what they need to move. It allows our team or our personnel, allows the human to actually focus on where their expertise is and not spend time in doing typing exercise. I just can get more done. I can get twice, 3 times the amount done in a day, because for the small business right now, you can get Claude or ChatGPT. And so it really gives small businesses the advantage right now, because you can be a lot more flexible, nimble, and try things early. Whereas, some of the folks that I know, they're in the corporate entity, they're literally a year and a half behind me. And that's a long time in the AI world on stuff that they're discussing. And, they were talking about prompting, and I'm like, oh, we're way past prompting.
An advantage that most people don't stop to consider. Being a small business is hard, right? But when it comes to actually implementation is one of those things where small businesses can take the lead, exactly because of what you said. You have the ownership, you have the decision power to choose the right tools that work for you. Now, speaking of challenges, think about one thing where you said, I tried AI for that, but I still think we're not there yet with it. What's one thing that you can think of that say, I'd rather just do that myself?
There's definitely a learning curve in understanding how to communicate, with AI to get meaningful, reliable output.
So one of the struggles I ran into is a lot of times I'll have to read through a lot of documents and pull the scope out or understand an RFP. For instance, we just took on a project and we have 40 different procedures that had to be read through around welding, safety, quality control, and so having to read through those. And originally I was hopeful that I could just whip this stuff into ChatGPT and it could give me the answers, but it choked on them, and as over time, the context windows got bigger, but in many cases, I would wind up having high expectations about what it could do. And in the end, I would spend all this time trying to get it to do. And then, what I realized is context window size matters. If you put too much in it, it will give you answers, but they will be incorrect. So now, and that's the cool thing about AI is each week it progresses to where if something didn't work last week, if you try it again this week, maybe it'll work. And then what you understand about AI, your knowledge increases as well. So now I'm building vectorized databases and ingesting thousands of pages of document.
Wow. I do think it's true what you're saying, that it evolves over time. So we get better at our prompting because we evolve with that language as well to know better questions to ask, but the system also improves to also read in between those.
Early on, when I start using AI, sometimes I would receive information that sounded convincing, but it was inaccurate or incomplete. So that reinforced the importance of making sure that we're verifying the information and using AI as a support tool as opposed to a decision maker. In healthcare, professional judgment, ethics, and human oversight is really essential, and it remains essential.
That's very true. Does that resonate with you?
I run into the same thing where I'm still finding it quite a bit where I'll have it go through and give it a lot of reference document, and then it'll produce something for me. And I go through and read it, and what I find in there is that it may have confused one technical piece from another technical piece and tried to splice them together somehow. And you're like, oh, no. It went way off the rails. And so what I find is you absolutely need to go through and read it. It will give you what it thinks you want to hear. And if it doesn't know, it will totally make stuff up. And it'll sound real good. If you don't know anything about the topic, you'll go, wow, that was really cool.
That's one of the challenges of learning to use the tool in a way that you feel confident that whatever you're asking, it's going to give you that information. Right now, because you're using it in different capacities, what's one thing that maybe could have saved you a little bit of extra time as you got familiar with these tools?
It took me a while when I understand what prompt engineering was, right? And once I finally figured that out, and it's not that hard, I printed out the main key pieces and I actually taped that to my wall for a while so that I could prompt it.
Because we've had conversations about whether to choose a free tool or choose something that is specific for your business. Why would you say it's worth it?
I would say it's worth it because you get to build that relationship with your client, right? You have the opportunity to also have family time again because those tools help you decrease the time that you're having to document or do full research, right? If I had to go back and research all of the articles and medications and side effects and all of that I had to do before by using my books, it would take a whole lot longer than just being able to put that information in the search in our medical AI systems, have it to pop up and review it and be able to educate that page right then and there. Just the decrease in the amount of time that you're spending daily on average is worth the purchase.
When we look at the different tools that you guys are using confidently and everything, what is next for you? What do you see AI working with?
I think for me, yes, I plan to continue to use AI. I know I talked a lot about note-taking AI that I utilize for my patient visits, but I also use ChatG, and then we have a Doximity that I utilize. So there's so many that I use, and it helps not only for the patients, but when I am creating letters or I'm doing my content creation and scheduling and communication. So I'm definitely excited about and planning to continue to use AI for education and just improving operational and more personalized resources for my patients and the students that actually come here to be precepted nurse practitioner students. So I just see just continuing to grow. And I see lots of opportunity to leverage AI to support the business. And I would tell any other mental health providers or healthcare providers that AI it's where it's at, it's where we're going. And if you want to see growth as well as, being able to provide high quality services and supplies to your clients, that it's AI is the best.
Yeah, I wanted you to share about your success story.
And so, yes, we received an American Express small business grant. I utilized ChatGPT, and on the medical side, we have Doximity AI, which I mentioned earlier. And so, of course, you have to put in the prompts and you have to put in the information and AI to build a proposal and submit it. And I was able to receive a grant for my business.
Very cool before and after using AI. Speaking of proposals, I know that you built a lot of those and AI helps you put it together.
Yeah, so a lot of times we'll get one of the things that I'm using AI for now, even before the proposal, is for it to scan. There's various sources to be able to understand when a company puts out an art or a request for proposal. So one of the first things that we have it do is go through and look for jobs that would fit what we do, right? And where we have history. So I'm not spending time looking at proposals or reading through stuff that's not really a good fit for us in the first place. And then we can focus on the stuff that fits our business best. And then after that, you can wind up with hundreds of pages in an art. And there's always the same key information that you want to dig out of there is there a site visit? When's the bid due? What's the response requirements? Who's it's to? There's a few key pieces that you want to dig out of that every time. And so you can structure that AI to go through and give you that information right off the get-go. So let's say you have 5 RFPs out there, it can go through and it can prioritize this one's due next week, this one's due this week, and that sort of thing. And then you can have it, give it a summary of scope and talk about the scope that's in there. So I've taken our prior jobs and fed it in there as well. And now it can really find good matches. So I automatically already know where to go look at some of my past history on what we did, how well we did on it, lessons learned on it, be able to apply it to that and shorten up my estimating. A lot of times they want to know what your previous projects were, and it can generate that list custom specifically for the proposal response in a consistent manner, because I'll go back, I built skills that say every time I want you to deliver it just like this, and then you get the repeatability. That's another lessons learned that I have learned is if you ask ChatGPT or any Gemini or whatever the same question 3 times, you're going to get 3 different answers. But if you want to improve getting the same answer every time, you need to structure how it responds and either build a skill or give it a prompt or give it some kind of context on how to respond to it. So we've built some of those tools where I can move through and I like what Carolyn was talking about, where I can go home and have a home life instead of staying up till 7, 8 o'clock trying to work on a proposal or working the weekends or that sort of thing. So I can get through the proposals during the week.
I find that fascinating, keeping that balance of understanding that these tools are here to help us, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you still want to do your job. So if you had a new small business owner here that is sitting with you and telling you, do you think AI is for me? What would you say to them? What would you tell them? Why do you think AI might work for them?
I would say, start small, focus on one business problem. Don't try to implement everywhere all at once. Identify a repetitive task, something that takes too much time, like maybe content creation or scheduling or, communications, and then start there. Because I feel like the goal is to save time and improve efficiency, not to make something more complex. So start small, focus on one problem, perfect that, and then move on to the next thing.
I'm in agreement with Carolyn. Start small, pick something, and then what gives you the biggest pain point. And then also recognize that at first, you may not save any time with AI because you're going to be tinkering with it or learning with it. And if you try and don't pick the problem that has the deadline by tonight or tomorrow. Pick something that you can solve a problem that says, if I could fix this one problem and I have this problem 5 times a week, then that if and when I fix it, then I will have a win on it. Because you're gonna have a learning curve. You're gonna have to figure out how to make it work. So over the course of a year, if you're a business person and solving that problem where you spent all day fixing a problem that takes you extra 30 minutes a day, but over the course of a year, that 30 minutes a day savings now adds up to some real money and a cost efficiency for your company. And that's easy to get 30 minutes a day out of an AI solution.
Very true. I think Carol and I were nodding because we agree. And I find it fascinating. We've kind of done the full circle of stay curious, right? If you're going to approach a tool, do it with curiosity, stay engaged with it, try a few different ones and see which one provides you with the best results.
I encourage everyone to go out and start exploring AI and start looking at what it can do for you. And if you start with a free AI or whatever, just start with a free AI and start playing with it, and your technical knowledge will be on a increasing curve. And at where the two diverge and cross, you will have the aha moment that you were looking for. And don't be afraid of failure. I can tell you, I lost count of the number of failures I had 2 years ago. Failure after failure after failure after failure, and then a little win. And you're like, oh, okay. And you put the pieces together just right, and you had a win.
The thing that I would add is that your most successful results is going to come from your combined expertise, your experience, and your judgment. AI is going to have the ability to organize the information and help you generate those ideas. So just know that human insight is still the most valuable part of the process.
Very true. I love how we're ending that conversation on that note. AI is going to enhance the quality and the ideas of small business owners. It improves them, but without them, there's no point in having them. Thank you both so much for being on this panel today. I hope that everyone watching right now feels this is just as valuable as it was for me to learn so much from your experiences. And we'll stay in touch. We'll be rooting for all of your businesses and the growth that you'll continue to have with your AI.